All right, Ron. So here we are. We are officially at 8 weeks in, 2 months out of stealth mode. I thought it would be really cool for people watching, listening, to kind of hear how's it going. You got 2 months in. I want to hear about like who you've been hearing from, whether it's like blasts from the past, people you used to work with, or if it's like prospective clients. Give me a taste of who you've been hearing from.
Yeah, so it's been, I would say it's actually been awesome, but at the same time, like super stressful and exciting, and every emotion you probably could think of throughout all of that. So, but I really like the people I've been hearing from, like you mentioned, blast from the past type thing. Yeah, there's been some people like I worked with before, like, oh, they're interested, like, hey, what are you actually working on? Or other people asking, like, someone I worked with at different firms or different points is like, hey, I'm interested in what you're doing. Like, let's set up some time. And like, I've actually had that instance happen twice, and now they're in the pipeline to be clients. So I definitely think like these talks, like these conversations, like giving some of the transparency helps. But then also, like when people see the platform and see what the solution is able to do, like I'm not really having to get out there and like push it hard. I'm not selling, like I used to say in high school, like I'm not selling Cutco knives. Like it's like really like the product is game changing, and everyone's like, oh, like what's the use case for like AI and all these other ideas? Yeah, so we have that actual use case. Like one of the first posts we did, like with this being like from a check-in standpoint, was I was mentioning like AI Squared, the founder there mentioned like, hey, like products need to be use case agnostic, but then also need to actually serve a purpose. And so like that's what we built it is use case agnostic, yeah, but we've honed in what those use cases are like right now as we enter in the market. And so yeah, like it's been awesome. It's been rewarding to sit in a meeting and someone tells you what their product can do for them and not me having to tell them what the product can do for them. So like that's been like awesome to like basically what like the investors that I'm speaking with, or like, which has also been pretty cool. I know I'm like rambling a little bit, but like that's like I'm getting like people are pinging and seeking out me, which is like it's almost like being in high school again, getting ready to go to college to play football. It's like you want to be recruited, you want to feel like, hey, we want you on the team here to play this position, or like you feel like, hey, the coaches actually believe in you, or like the fan base and everything, or just like the the environment, like it's a fit.
I love that, man. I love that idea. Yeah, getting ready, like getting recruited. It's also got to kind of feel validating. Like you had this idea and you had to bet on yourself, and you hope that like all these different people and these different companies and stuff would believe in it the way that you believe in it, and you're kind of getting that feedback now. So
yeah,
this may take a minute. Like we don't want to sugarcoat this. Like let's talk about challenges. Like how are you? One thing I always enjoy, like when you listen to podcasts or read different books, how different leaders also try to carve time out for themselves to like decompress, or like you're an athlete, right? Like right now you're like, I don't even know what, like an Olympian trying to keep going. You're like in the marathon phase. What are the kind of things you're doing to make sure that you can get up in the morning, get back after it, or recoup after you've had a hard day? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. So one of the things I've started to do more purposely is basically like starting my day really early. Like my goal is to be up by 6:15 every morning at minimum, and then to hit the gym no matter what day it is, even if like today I had to go like travel an hour to a meeting. And so like I had to get up early enough to be able to get the workout in. So I have like that I guess mental sanity, if you want to call it that. But then also like there's a level of clarity that comes like in the gym for me, where like I might end up like pinging you 1,000 messages, Aaron, or like I'm pinging Landry, or like I'm sending myself a bunch of emails, and like it's taken away from my workout a little bit. But one of the things I started telling myself was like, wait a minute, like, I mean, this is technically work. Like I'm answering to myself, right? Like because I still have this thing where you've been like groomed for 20 years to like, hey, you got to be at your desk, or you got to be at this place at this time. Like I still kind of trained to that point, but I'm trying to break it a little bit, because like innovation is not going to just happen me sitting in this office all the time. And so like I see that like that's one of the biggest like outlets. And then the other piece I tell you is like I go move dirt around on the tractor. Like every time I say that, people is like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "No. I will send you a picture of me on a Kubota 2380 moving dirt." Like, and sometimes I'm literally just moving dirt.
let's when we edit this, we'll put a picture up. I want to see this because yeah, I told my wife about it, and she's like, I got to see this. I got to see Ron moving dirt. So maybe that'll be a moving dirt with Ron. We'll do a special episode.
Yeah.
Well, you said something too. I want to go back on. I really like it. You're accountable to yourself. So I also want to go back. You were talking about like being recruited into college. You were also, I would imagine, to a large degree, with the amount of like prep and workout and training and practices, you're accountable to a team like you are now, but you had your own standards. Are you finding that you're going back to the well on things you used to use or mindset, even like when you're an athlete? How's that?
Oh yeah. Like someone said to me before, like I didn't like things like, oh, like the athlete mindset is the constant growth, right? Like how do you get better? Like, and I jokingly, I think I put a post in there. It's like everybody wants to be Iverson. So like practice. What do you mean practice? And like even though he said that, don't get it like crazy. Like he had natural talent, but a lot of people do, right? But like practice is what separates like effort, practice, like and then like preparation. Like, and it looks differently, right? Like you meant, we talk about like, watching game film, or for me, is figuring out like, hey, what can I do to improve or get better? Because I've been watching a lot about other founders, and then just like their journeys as well, and then like that level of curiosity. I used to, I joke with my daughter, like, what is she? She said something like random to me about like how my brain works, and I remember the tie the story back is basically like I just don't ever settle for, and I tell her this is like I don't. It's hard for me just to be okay and comfortable with things being just like they are. How can I improve something? Then I was watching a founder video the other day. I don't know. I can't remember which one of the big tech guys that were talking about it, but basically that level of curiosity actually gave me a level of comfort, because like that's how I see things. Like I have this saying, I used to call it basically anti-complacent complacency, and then it's in our core values for the company. But now it makes sense for me, like to see like that's how other people see things. It's like, oh, how can I always improve it? Because you're not just resting and being okay with it, right? Because you see that's how organizations fail as well. They get complacent or they get comfortable, and it's like, oh, we have market share, and I've studied a lot of that throughout my career, even back when I was in the FBI, looking at how I could just improve and get better. When you go back and look at these entities that can't survive like tech, like the major tech transformation, or you look at when I used to work at Sears when I was in high school. I sold propane and propane accessories, like
okay.
And I sold tractors. I could tell you like how that Briggs and Stratton, that Honda, I can tell you how all that stuff worked. And but like now Sears doesn't exist really. Like there's a couple like stores, like small like the catalog stores that are around, but like how do you stay relevant long term? And so that's what we're trying to build within the.
Well, it's funny you said complacent. I was thinking the entire time before you said it, I'm like, yeah, you don't want to be complacent, and it's really interesting too, because I think that's probably what makes you unique. The more that I've gotten to know you over time, it seems like, especially for what Tacilent's doing, you oftentimes have like people who think, well, I'm a founder. Now I'm going to go figure out what industry I'm going to go find something in and create something in. And you see him hop, like, Adam Neumann with WeWork, he tried 5 different things like baby clothes and, all these other things. And then, tripped into doing a thing. Yours seems so like tied to your DNA and how you view life, how you think through problem solving. Like you're not a founder who tried to go spin up expertise. You're like this expert who finally was like, I'm tired of mediocre. Yeah. I'm going to go make the thing. I mean, am I thinking about that the right way, describing you now?
Oh, well, thank you for one. Like I have like, I have a no anti-basic or a meat. And I think I told you, like, I have this book idea called The Acceptance of Mediocrity, right? Like at scale. And like, when you look at like what people think great or good is right now, it's really like, you go back and look at it, it's like, oh, that's not really, I mean, like you're just okay. Like people used to get, I remember I had a couple of employees who basically was like, why don't you ever tell us we did a great job? I'm like, well, when you do something more than just your job, I'll tell you were great. And it's not like I had a different standard. I mean, but that's
just didn't work for you, Ron. I would have been crushed.
But like at the same time, I mean, hopefully, like a lot of my teams, like they still like when they did something great, it wasn't just like I was putting a lot of fluff out there, or like I used to call it like empty superlatives. So it's like I used to tell them like I'm not going to do that for you, because if I told you that all the time, then it's like you think it's great, and it's like right now it might not be great, and we all have something to improve on.
You're not setting them up for a fall either, because all that false praise, and then when something bad really does happen or we don't meet, it's going to be whiplash, right?
Right.
I got a new book title for you, by the way. So there's the Good to Great book. We're going to make yours the Great to Phenomenal book, and that'll be your expectation level, right? Not good. Right. We got to go from great to phenomenal. So, so I've got some more questions for you, just being a check-in and all. Talk to me about, you probably in your mind thought, well, I'm going to talk to these kind of companies or people with this background or who've done this kind of work. Has that sort of met your expectation? Like, give me like who all, you don't have to name names, but like, give me like industries or job titles or whatever. Like, who all's been interested in what you're doing?
Yeah. So I would say one of the biggest, the top two that have kind of like risen to the top, I would say consulting, and then like nonprofits, because one of the things, and this is one, like we're built different, and I know everyone wants to say that, and it's like, oh, like one of my mentors told me, was like, oh, like you can do good and make money too, right? And like that's like to the core of what we're doing. Absolutely. Like you talk about the risks that are out there from a cybersecurity perspective, getting access to the expertise that exists. I mean, everybody can't get that, right? Like everyone can't get someone that's experienced, or even if you do have someone, they don't know everything, and then things are changing so drastically now. So like the two from an industry standpoint, consulting and nonprofits are like really where we're getting a lot of traction on. And then the other one that's popping up is around healthcare, logistics, and then like government. Like I'll be honest with you, like I was running away from government because like it's hard to, when you're out in the public, like you're in a big four firm, like everybody, it's like a what do you call it? It's like a party trick. It's like everybody wants to know, oh, tell me about your time in the FBI or some stories, and I can't remember half of them. So it's like I dropped the ball on that immediately. And then the other piece is like it's like, well, I'm trying to build bona fides for me within industry. It's like, hey, like my experiences actually relate to you more than you realize, and I'm having to translate that to you. But then also I need to prove it to you with results, which is why like we're always focused on showing results and actionable, being actionable, right? Like everybody talks about theory and here's what we might be able to do, and like, oh yeah, and it was like, well, no, we can do it. And it's not just like, oh, I'm just telling you like you need to show in the tools. Like I'll show you in the tool, but also will tell you, like, based off of experiences, this is what right looks like in some of the highest stakes environments. So.
You were so right on that point too. Like the more and more that I've read and talked to different people, like so much of it feels like vaporware. Like I've got this idea, and then you see these like, great, here's a $3 billion valuation on not having an idea or a product for another 4 or 5 years, but we believe in you.
Yeah,
I've been impressed. Like you built the thing and then went to market. It wasn't like, I'm just going to, put a bunch of slick advertising out, which I think a lot of people are doing right now. But I want to get to something that's more personal. I know doing things like this is not normal for someone who has been behind the firewall in government, right? You're the guy behind the guy behind the guy behind the guy. So what's it been like to have to be the face of your company and your product, getting outside your comfort zone, because you're humble, right? You put your nose to the grindstone, you do the work, you hustle, but you're not looking for like, I don't know, adulation or like plaudits and stuff like that. And I know that's not why you're out here, but you're out here because you believe it and you need people to believe in you too. So what's that journey been like for you in the 8 weeks now you've been out of stealth?
Hard. And so like it's been it's uncomfortable at times, but then like I think I told you, like for me, like to make any posts, like it takes me like an hour plus to write that. And it's like, because I'm thinking about, like in my own mind, I'm like, oh, well, how's this going to be perceived? I want to make sure I just want to make sure I don't say the wrong thing, but I also want to make sure like my message gets across and I'm not just rambling within in some of my posts, I'm like, geez, these things have gotten long. Like they're border, like I'm hitting the character count on multiple different times. It was like, oh, I hope I have something to say. Well, there's no shortage of that when you read and so yeah, it's been definitely like it's been different, but then it's also been somewhat rewarding when I like someone tells me, because it doesn't like, and LinkedIn is weird, like how it shows you the metrics. I don't know everyone that views like even our pages or that reviews the videos, and then like I've met people who's like, oh yeah, I watched all your videos. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like what do you think? It's like, yeah, that's like, and it's like, I mean, it's really good feedback, right? And so yeah, it's been different, but the one thing I would say, and this is what I've told myself every time I've had to either like do like some type of like public speaking thing, or like speak at a conference, or like lead an event or whatever. Like I'm not just speaking for me. It's like I represent the company, and then like also like my team is like, if they see me fumble, or if they see me not be able to carry the ball for that standpoint, using another sports analogy, right? Like then why would they do it, right? If I was just like, hey, you go do it all the time, but then it's like, hey, I want to be the biggest evangelist of like not just me, but the team and the company, but then also what we're able to build, right? Because like, we truly can impact an organization's risk and make them more resilient long term, but then also we can do all these other great things to help them.
Well, and that's what I think is really cool. First, like, you don't have to be perfect, and just acknowledging that, like, being human, gosh, that's refreshing, because so many of these people have like brands, and like you talk about spending an hour to write a post. Half these people have teams writing this stuff for them. They never even see it, right? It's some person hitting publish. So like really good on you for like being the person writing this stuff.
Yeah.
But B, like your background, a lot of other folks on your team, like you have that service oriented background, being of service to others.
Yeah.
So like when I think about you talking about nonprofits, like you're also doing good, important work. Like I cannot get over the disparity right now. I think AI, if you start thinking about it, everybody talks about like, oh, it's this new enlightenment era, and it's going to unlock all this. Yeah, if you've got like data centers and high speed internet and access to understand how to like prompt engineer, if you can get past all those barriers that aren't even visible right now, it could be really cool. You've got this thing now where you can meet people wherever they are.
Yep.
You can try to help them uncover what their needs are. You can help build things that serve them, and serving organizations of service to others probably has to be like, I get goosebumps all the time on certain things. Like to me, that's the coolest thing. Like if you could actually make people's lives better, not just improve profit lines and like stock prices for corporations, but at the same time balance your portfolio of like doing good. How does that fit into like how you try to be as a human in life,
Yeah, so I would say, like, to your point of service, like, I mean, I always want to work in business, right? I mean, I was second in the state in like future business leaders of America, and
you buried the lead, man. You should have led with it. I didn't know who I'm talking to. Now I got to sit up.
But then like my goals, like I remember even from like when I was 7 years old, like I wanted to be a military officer. I wanted to be Iron Eagle. I wanted to be Chappie. I wanted to be flying fighter jets. Didn't get to really do that. Did some other stuff, but then I wanted to be in the FBI, like the FBI story with I can't remember the actor's name, and then like I got like my uncle was in the FBI, so like I wanted to do those two things. Like my family has served and all that, so like service and thinking beyond yourself has always been like, I mean, it's like this ethos that my family has always had, right? Beyond just making like money. I mean, money allows you to do certain things and to do more at scale if you take advantage of those opportunities when they present themselves. But yeah, like service, even as we're looking at, like, as we scale, right? Like helping nonprofits, that would never go away from like how we operate. But then also like even, and I might have put this in the post, right? Like I'm proving something not only to myself, but to other people, right? Because I talk to my peers, like in the government or like the FBI or the military, or even like my siblings or something, right? Like people don't expect me to show up when I'm talking about AI, right? Like you look at my resume, they don't expect me. Like, and I tell you, like no one ever expects me if you just looked at me on paper, right? And so, I mean, like some of that is like, yeah, I want to prove my point, but then at the same time, is also like, I mean, for me, it helps me when I see like when I met Sam Johnson at EY, to see him on the stage and doing like to see someone that looks like you, but then also it's not always that, but other people who care about like people, right? Like even with like one of my biggest mentors in the FBI is Rich Haley. Like he doesn't look like me, but like he believed in me. Like he spent time like giving back his time, right? And the one thing I've learned is like time is the one measurable like that's the only measurement that actually matters. It doesn't like there's no other measurement of relevance when you think about that. So like service, I think the product we're building is built to serve, to empower, right? Like you hear me say pretty much, I'm purposeful about this in every single post. It's empowerment, right? Like it was frustrating to me to watch how companies or even go back to the FBI, like, hey, there's certain things that you could have done if you had the right information.
Yeah.
And so like, it's the same thing from an intelligence standpoint, like actionable information or intelligence, like saves lives. Like literally, like there's no other, like for me to be really good at my job in the FBI or deployed overseas, like you need actionable and credible information. And so applying those same principles into like the rigor of how we're building like the data set or coming up with the training our AI agent, like that stuff is at the core and critical. Like I have a zero compromise on security, privacy, and credibility of the information we put out.
Well, here's something I would love to maybe challenge. People are watching this video right now. Being of service, I think, is probably one of the most important things we can do as people. You talk about saving lives. There's lots of ways to save lives. So you talk about the FBI. Think about homelessness. Think about food insecurity. Think about lots of different things like that. If you're watching this video right now, I would encourage anybody who knows of a nonprofit, a service-oriented organization, to forward this video or tag that organization in the comments. What I would say, Ron and his team, what they're doing right now is they're trying to make this accessible. So don't let price points or like intimidating things like artificial intelligence or machine learning scare you off. I haven't run this by you, Ron, but I hope that's okay to say, because
Absolutely.
I think you can help more people, and I think people just don't even know that this is a thing. So share it, share this. And I think this lowers the threshold and the scary that can come with like, oh my gosh, like we couldn't use that, or they wouldn't talk to us.
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
Good stuff, man. Well, I appreciate the check-in. Let's do these more. Let's do like maybe a monthly or a bi-monthly check-in just to see how things are going. And I think the tips that you provide too on like staying ready and taking care of yourself so you can take care of others, it's going to resonate with a lot of people, regardless if you're a founder or just somebody who's, working for your family, right? Like we all are. That's pretty cool. So thanks for taking the time out today to talk, Ron.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron.
All right.